And then you'll get pretty close to that, Bob. You're probably be about there, right in the front there.
Okay.
Thank you.
I gotcha.
All right, that's the cars right there on KBCZ 89.3 FM, Boulder Creek Community Radio, serving all of the San Lorenzo Valley from the skyline to the sea. So this is the KBCZ News Roundup. We're here with you broadcasting news and local information and updates Monday through Thursday at 12:30 p.m. And sometimes we bring in an interview like today. So today we're talking with Bob Fike. He is with ARES, which is the Santa Cruz County Amateur Radio Emergency Service. So Bob, welcome to KBCZ.
Well, hi Tina, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
My God, I'm fantastic, thank you.
So you reached out to me and you said, you know, we've got this thing that we do and would love to talk to you about it. So I thought I would have you in today and just talk about it a little bit. So ARES, that's the acronym for, is that what it's called?
ARES, that's right.
Which is Amateur Radio Emergency Service. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, so Amateur Radio Emergency Service we're a group. So in other words, we're not necessarily a club or anything like that. We don't pay any dues or anything. These are all just volunteers out of the kindness and goodness of their heart. They're spending their time, they're doing their training and all that stuff just on their own, and that's what we do. So we have a lot of things that we do. We have about 75 volunteers in our group, and we're not a social club, but we do service for our communities. So we're basically here for our communities and their safety is what it is. We also have a nonprofit that supports us as well. It's called Santa Cruz Communications Service, and they are the ones that supply us with equipment and stuff like that when we need it, and also for the communities as well. So if the communities need something, then they can provide that for them as well.
Right. And let's talk about the equipment a little bit. So
yeah.
What kind of stuff do you, so are we talking ham radio?
Yeah, we're talking ham radio, which is amateur radio. Ham radio has been around for an incredibly long time.
Yeah.
We've got two clubs that are around here as well. The Santa Cruz County Amateur Radio Club, which is a social club.
That's the social club.
Exactly. Yeah. And then there's also the San Lorenzo Valley Amateur Radio Club, which meets up in Zayani, and that's a social club as well. Great bunch of people and everything else.
Yeah.
The Santa Cruz County Club has been around for over 100 years.
Yeah,
in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, because I know that some of these organizations started, the radio started in well, let's see. So, the ones with the wires, Crystal, what do they call them?
Yeah,
like
that's
that's
right.
in the 30s, right? So was ham radio kind of created before that, or?
It was. They were actually using spark gap transmitters. So they would. And finally it got to the point where the FCC was saying, these guys are really creating a lot of noise and everything else. Maybe it's time that we should
give them a license.
Give them a license and give them a chance to do some experimentation, so that they weren't doing that. So. So that's how ham radio kind of started.
Okay, and I know that said some of it is not a social club, but some of it is. But I've met a lot of your folks, and and I'm kind of geeky as well, and I really like the equipment. I like transmitters and all that. I know maybe a lot of people
really you
don't,
do. What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff.
That's amazing.
So I can see why folks could get together and get in this club and just kind of talk about all that stuff all the time. I never tire of talking about it.
Yeah, and we, the funny thing is when we have the COVID thing going on and everything else, we've been practicing social distancing for hundreds of years.
Oh, right. You were not new to that.
Exactly. So we knew how to train with Zoom and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're putting in over 1,000 hours per month in just training, events, you name it. We're teaching classes, so on.
So you're also going to be doing some outreach, well, not just some outreach, but you're going to be training at the Santa Cruz Triathlon and also at the Santa Cruz Mountains Challenge bike ride. So tell me how you guys are instrumental in that.
Yeah, so we do training for the new ham radio operators who join ARES, but we've got ARES people that have been around for a very long time. So we've been doing these rides and races for a very incredibly long time,
and when you say you're doing them, what is it?
Yeah, okay, so basically, as we know in the hills and the mountains here and so on, that cell phones do not do very well. They are also, if you want to communicate with somebody, you get on your cell phone and you call that person, right?
Yeah.
Okay, with ham radio, we can cover the whole area. In other words, all of Santa Cruz very easily with ham radio. And also, when I key up the microphone and I talk, I can have hundreds of people hear me exactly at the same time, so we're sequenced together. What we also do is so because of that, we have different locations that these rides or races are going to, and there's different stops that they go to and so on. So anytime that we have a disaster, not a disaster, but an emergency where somebody's hurt themselves or something is damaged or something like that, we basically communicate to the authorities as to where that's located at and that we need to get help. There's also such things as SAG wagons, which is where wagons go to pick people up with their bicycles or them up, or the runners or what have you, and those SAG wagons need to know where that person is located at, where we can relay that piece of information.
Okay, so if I'm looking at the race, say for example the Santa Cruz Triathlon, and I look at the map of where everybody's going, are you kind of situated all along the route, or how do you?
Yeah, we are. So basically the triathlon, for instance, goes around the wharf.
Yeah.
And we have ham radio operators at the wharf watching that happening.
Okay.
We also have them at the start-finish line. We have another one at Natural Bridges, and then another one between Natural Bridges and the hotels that are down by the wharf. Then we have another one that's way out in Davenport, because they're actually bicycle riding out to Davenport and back. So we have two other stations between there and Davenport, including Davenport. So all of these stations are all being run at the same time, and we have what's called a net control. That net control is on the air, and it's actually receiving all that information and reporting that to the authorities or to the race directors or the SAG wagon director or what have you, and we've got radios for them as well.
And so if I'm a bicyclist and I'm in this race, which would never happen, but if I did and I was on a bike, and I'm driving and I'm in my race and oh no, I fall over and I hurt my knee. Are you guys like, 10-4, get over there and fix her knee?
Right, exactly. So that's what we do, is we report injuries or any situation that's really kind of bad. And the thing is that we love to do this because this is like muscle memory, right?
Right.
In other words, when stuff hits the fan, stuff. And we know that stuff hits the fan around here. We got earthquakes, we got fires, we got floods, we got
so much stuff.
We do, really do. It's paradise, right? So, so that way, when something happens, it's kind of like, oh, somebody broke a hip. Okay, well, here we go again.
Yeah.
It's the same old thing. But we're taking care of the people that are injured or the bicycle that breaks down or what have you. So
that's a great time to practice.
It really is. And we do lots of exercises as well in between times, and we teach classes as well.
Cool. Now tell me about the the public safety power shutoffs, which is PSP.
Yeah, PSPS.
That's it, PSPS.
Yeah.
And so how were you involved in that?
So we were told by the county that for when the power goes out, not if, but when the power goes out, that we will be deployed to certain locations, and so that people without cell phones, because the power goes out, cell phones usually go out, the towers go out at certain lengths of time, internet goes out, and so on. At least people will be able to report any emergencies. Yeah. So we were actually stationed at the survival place that was here in Boulder Creek. We were stationed there for, I think it was three or 4 days is what we were.
During CZU?
Yeah, No, not during CZU, not the complex fires.
Oh.
So that's a whole different thing. But this is P.
Oh, you're right.
Right, so this is the power off shutoffs, yeah.
Okay.
So that was during, the CZU thing was a whole other thing, and that was 2 weeks worth of stuff that we were doing. We were behind the lines because all of the infrastructure on communications was gone.
Yep.
Everything was burned down. So we were behind the scenes. Actually, believe it or not, we were helping helping with feeding the cattle. So people had to get out really quick, right?
Yeah, livestock.
We're feeding chickens, cows. We had the equine evac group that was back there.
Yeah.
We had ham radio operators in their trucks, and we were evacuating horses and so on. We had llamas, we had sheep, we had chickens, we had fish. We were all going behind the lines in order to feed all of these because their owners had to bug out really quick.
Yeah.
And so we were doing that, reporting that. Also, the other important thing is that we need to be able to report where we're located at so the fire and the sheriff's officers know where we are located at, and so they can report to us if that fire is coming up on us as well while we're there.
Yeah, because you don't want to get in the way there.
Exactly. That's right. Right, exactly.
Wow, okay. And now, so you do work with like Central Fire, for example, CAL FIRE, the local sheriffs, and the Emergency Operations Center. Are there other, do you work with well, I guess you do work with CERT.
We do. CERT is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
They're wonderful people. They volunteer as well. Well, what we've wanted to do is, because there are the boots on the ground kind of people with the training with first aid, with cribbing, with helping people get to locations and so on, we wanted to have ham radio operators in CERT as well, and we trained those people in order how to communicate with radios. And CERT has their own radios also, which is MURS, M-U-R-S radios.
Yeah, how do you know what channel you're on, or?
That's the thing, is they set their channel ahead of time so that everybody knows, and they're assigned to certain locations. So they have their MURS radios, and then also the thing is with each group there's a ham radio operator for CERT who relays information to ARES, and then ARES reports into the Operations of Emergency Services, which is the EOC, either the city or the county, which is where we have our ham stations located at there, as well as Santa Cruz Dominican Hospital and Watsonville Hospital as well, and the Red Cross that's across the street from Dominican.
Now, what does ham stand for?
You know, there's a lot of controversy as to what that means, and the best one that I've heard so far, which makes kind of sense, is there was 3 persons who had their ham radios and they were doing spark gap, right? And they were making a big mess out of everything. The FCC said, you know, we need to put licenses on these. So the first call sign was HAM, which happened to be the first letter of their last names.
Oh my.
And if you were asking me what their last names were, I can't remember. But one started with an H, one started with an A, and one started with an M. That's one way of doing it. The other one was that they were saying that amateur radio operators were doing Morse code. And their Morse code was so sloppy, it was like they had a ham in their hand and they were pounding on it.
Ham-fisted.
Exactly, ham-fisted, exactly. Right.
I think I will go with the first one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just more dignified, I think.
Now, if you want to get involved with these folks, they have a website, and that is xczcom, COMM.com. That's xczcom, 2Ms.com, and that stands for...
Santa Cruz. That's actually, believe it or not, it's the location where we are on the grid map.
Oh.
It's XCZ.
So you have X-Ray Charlie, Zulu, Charlie, Oscar, Mike.com.
Exactly. Oh, very good.
Well, I have it in front of me. I didn't make that up. So, and if you should we give you your email address if people want to get in touch with you personally?
Absolutely.
They can reach Bob at SLVARES, that's like San Lorenzo Valley Ares.org. That's Bob at SLVARES.org. And then the website again is xczcom with 2Ms.com. And Bob, thank you so much for coming in today, and we'll have you in again. It's fascinating information.
I would love to share more with it, and I really like what your acoustic engineer did in here with the throw pillows and the lava lamp too. How you guys got that water fountain going without any sound is amazing to me.
Well, it's all smoke and mirrors, magic people out there don't know. All right, you're listening to KBCZ. We'll be right back. Thanks for coming in, Bob.
Thank you.
All right.
That was
funny. Very good. Very funny.